Hola, boa noite. Carl Munson here from expatsportugal.com with another Portugal show that goes out at 10 o'clock Lisbon time. And Monday, we've got into a bit of a lovely habit and routine of having an expat chat. Normally one person, tonight two. We have Rachel Tomeira and Frank Devane, who live in Lisbon, and they are part of our rather marvellous and new Ask Our Expats team, which I would like to tell you about now, and then we'll bring Rachel and Frank on to talk about their experience here. And you can book them. They are part of this team, and you can book them from the Ask Our Expats team here. Friendly team of people. We have hand-selected to help you find your dream lifestyle in Portugal. And also, actually, if you're on the want to be on the consultancy side, we're also recruiting, so you can send us a message, ask@expatsportugal.com, or drop me a message, Carl@expatsportugal.com. Be very happy to take care of you. Ask Our Expats about life in Portugal. You'll be able to do this to a certain extent tonight, but the idea of the service here is that you get one-to-one attention, and these folks know what they're doing. They've made some mistakes probably along the way, which they can help you avoid. But more than that, they are passionate about Portugal, and they've made the journey many of us used to dream of. Some of us are still dreaming of. So they are in a really good position to help you. It's all about showing you around a place you're considering for your new home. They can do that remotely, of course, which is probably quite a good idea at the moment. And in many cases, the only way. They can share with you local facilities, including schools, shopping centres, most popular restaurants, or even where the best hairdresser is. I'll have to ask Frank about that. Perhaps sports and leisure important to you. The gym, does your potential new hometown have those sorts of facilities? They might have found a house or a piece of land and can help you do the same. And they can help you with a bit of personal, unbiased inspection, maybe consultancy, that sort of thing. You can ask them about healthcare, real estate, community events, and then entertainment. Basically anything about the lifestyle in Portugal. And they are bookable in a number of ways. Oh, look, there's me. I'm part of this team as well. There's Rachel there, who we're going to be talking to in just a moment. Sarah in Coimbra, Pamela over there in Alcobaça. All people who know what they're talking about. Maria, who we've talked to before on our expat chat here, who lives over in Tamar. So let us go and speak to these folks right now. Your comments and questions are most welcome, and hoping to find them in Lisbon tonight. Frank and Rachel. Oh, I should say Rachel and Frank. If I'm going with the screen there. Good evening to you. Boa noite, Lisboa.
Boa noite.
Oh, I see. Look, what's he drinking there? See, this is Frank, who I have to say is my colleague at the Expat Man Cave, and also Frank and Rachel are both wine ninjas of the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club. But I believe that's not an alcoholic beverage you two are imbibing tonight.
Not an alcoholic beverages. It's all about cleansing today.
Oh, and it should be for me as well. But I was very kindly gifted via courier. Look, some ginger, the obidosh or dobidosh. And I thought it would be rude not to try it. So Donna Jacqueline, thank you so much for that very kind gift. 3 years in Portugal, I'd never tried the stuff, and I'm so glad I have tonight, which will be it's warming my belly in these somewhat chilly and cold and damp times in Portugal right now. But it's not always like that. You guys must have had some beautiful times in Lisbon, in the beautiful blue skies and sunshine there.
Oh, yes.
Yes, I was going to say the ginger that you've experienced, you should have told me last time when you dropped by to Lisbon. There are especially in the center, there are like these 2 or 3 places where you can go and you can have ginger. Like, this is the only thing they sell, and the only question they ask you is, do you want your little cup of ginger with or without the sour cherries?
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a cherry in mine tonight, but that's how it goes. Oh, yes. Actually, yes, in the bottom of the bottle are loads of cherries, which I suppose I should put in a trifle after.
Yes.
Enough about our drinking habits, enough about my drinking habits for sure. And I'm sorry I missed out on that. I mean, that's one of the, thousands of experiences you can have in Lisbon, right? Can you share with us, what was it that first appealed to you about Lisbon? Or did you have a bigger picture of Portugal? Where did your journey begin to come to Portugal?
We always thought about living in the south of Europe. I think it's that romantic idea that many people have. And we had been here in Portugal 3 times. And we decided, we found out that they have a visa program that would fit our circumstances. And from the time we found out that that visa was available, we didn't think twice. We applied for it, and here we are.
And for
Fantastic.
us, coming from Canada, Rachel is from Brazil originally, but she moved to Canada 15, 16 years ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't leave me alone, followed me all the way from Brazil. And so we went from Canada, came over here. We used to travel a lot through Europe. And somehow the journey always used to go through Portugal. And we used to always I know a lot of Canadians, they're always thinking, hey, maybe there is a way for us to come over here. And for a few years, we were looking at different avenues. And then someone told us about the D7 visa and how to go to Portugal. And we just, as Rachel said, we just pounced on it. And it's interesting. It doesn't take, almost like from the time we made our decision to the time we sold our place and came over here, it was a space of, I guess, 6 to 8 months, right?
Really?
That's fast. Yeah.
Yeah, it was not very, like, our minds were made up. We, within no time, as a matter of fact, when we came over here to talk to our lawyers, we had already told our real estate agent over there to sell our place, we were hoping by the time we go back, the place is sold and everything is taken care of.
Amazing. That is really fast, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a quick turnaround. So before you came then, you talk about the sort of romantic vision that many North Americans have about coming to Europe one day, especially possibly Southern Europe. Where had you visited in Europe and then in Portugal more specifically?
So for us coming from Canada, weather was a huge consideration. So we wanted to be somewhere warmer. And the other thing that we love about this region of Portugal, Lisbon, is that it's pretty much always sunny. And where we come from, the winters are very dark and very gray. So having that blue sky every day is such a blessing. We love it. So yeah, so when we were thinking about where to live in Portugal, we always thought we wanted to be Lisboa or south of Lisboa, because we thought the weather would be better. Porto is very beautiful. We went there, and but we said no, Porto maybe not, because it's not as sunny. But now we are realizing that Portugal is such a small country. The variations are not that huge, north to south. So we are moving to a little bit north from here now, and we realize that it doesn't really make that much difference.
The scale that we had in mind is the Canadian scale, where going from one town to another, one big town to another, like from Toronto to Montreal, is about 6 hours, 5 to 6 hours of a drive. And living over here, you quickly realize that that's pretty much you going through more than half of the country, and returning and going through so many different microclimates.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're pretty much, 3/4, aren't you? If you put your foot down, and in a day, you've gone from the top to the bottom of Portugal potentially. Yeah. Amazing. So you have made adjustments then. I just want to go back a little bit. So you had been before you arrived. You had been touring here and in Southern Europe. Where had you visited in Portugal before deciding that?
In Portugal, Frankie went to Lagos years ago. But I had been only to Porto and Lisboa.
Yeah, we years ago with a friend of mine, roommate of mine from Vancouver, we got the UK work and what's that called? Working holiday maker visa. So what we decided to do is him and I decided to backpack through Europe, and Portugal was the second destination we came to. Lisbon was after Paris. So we came to Lisbon, and from Lisbon, almost immediately, we took a train down to Lagos, and from there we resumed taking a bus to Sevilla and all through Europe. But yeah, this was the first time I came to Portugal was in the 90s. Then we came back once to Lisbon when we were married.
Yeah.
Then another time we came back, we went to Porto
and Lisbon.
And then Lisbon again that time. And then by that time we were confirmed. We were like, yes, we definitely want to be here.
Amazing. And I mean, you're guaranteed 3 different experiences, aren't you? If you go to Lagos, Lisboa, and Porto, even though there's a Portuguese character and that threads, and weaves through them all, they are very different experiences, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's what I think it's a 3 different gears of relaxed. You've got like the rather very relaxed, which is when you go. I think the people around the south, I've realized that's the gear. That's a very relaxed, extremely relaxed gear. Lisbon is like the not so easy going. But when you go up north, as you go towards mid country and up north, it gets very, very relaxed. But it's got a different angle on relaxed.
I love that, and I'm going to put that as a comment on the screen. The 3 gears of the same laid-back gearbox, pretty much. Then,
yeah,
that's fantastic. We are getting some comments and questions. We'll come back to your question, Ginny, in a little while. Susan's just got a greeting for us. So, good evening, everyone from Torres Vedras. Is that somewhere you've been in Portugal, you guys?
No, we haven't been to Torres Vedras.
So much to enjoy and explore still. How long have you been in Lisbon?
We arrived in January.
January, what, 15th or 16th?
Yeah, 16th.
16th.
So you've seen this beautiful capital city of ours in its full 12-month cycle then, pretty much?
Pretty much. The weather cycle, yes. Experienced, unfortunately, quite a bit of it from home because of the current situation.
Yeah.
And but since we had been here before and we had seen quite a bit of the city, going up and down, walking a lot, because the cities like this, these are very, I don't know, they're walkable cities, but when you tell people that there are quite a few hills, you've got to go up and down, then they start going, is it really walkable? I still believe it's a very walkable city.
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. All right, and please detail us with some of your best experiences. I mean, the one we've missed out, obviously, because it's not quite Christmas. You haven't had a Christmas in Lisbon, and it's beautiful. And I guess, as you rightly say, the pandemic has affected everything, no less Christmas. But presumably, you have still managed to have some fun, get out and about in Lisbon, and enjoy the glory and beauty of the capital. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so now the Christmas lights are all up. I went to downtown last week and everything's looking so nice. And my favorite thing of the season, the chestnuts carts are everywhere. And I love them, the roasted chestnuts.
Yeah.
Yeah, wherever you're going, there's that. And the other thing is when you go, we haven't really been like walking around downtown much because these days, based on the situation, you're kind of a little bit apprehensive. You're thinking, all right, do I really want to be in these crowded areas or not? But we do believe we're missing out a lot because Lisbon is the kind of city that offers a lot. It offers a lot of, even though it's an international city, there's a huge expat community over here. It offers a bit of the old, a bit of the new. It gives you a taste of everything. You go into one of these small alleyways, you find like these American, these like an American bar over here. You walk a little bit further down and you see like a small boteco or a small tasca where you can go sit down, have a very cheap beer, talk to a guy who doesn't have any front teeth and was going to be giggling the entire time. And it's got like character. I love that kind of character.
Yeah.
And going back then to January, February and March, where must have been like, dogs with 2 tails or, looking everywhere as tourists abroad for the first time, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. What are some of your memories from then?
Some of our memories, well, one of the first things that we did, and I think this will benefit a lot of the expats because these are the things we did, so these became our experiences. Before getting this apartment or renting this apartment, what Rachel and I decided to do is figure out which area would be suitable for us as far as going up and down is concerned. So one of the most memorable things we did is we bought, this was the second week or third week, we bought like a day pass for the subway. And we said, you know what, today we are going to do this line. And there's not many lines. If you live in London or Paris, you know that there are so many different lines you can get off. So we basically went up and down the line and got off every station to go and see what's around the area, and what's going out. And so that we could decide. And the area that we live in right now is called Alvalade. And as soon as we came out, we walked around a little bit. We really liked the area. We really liked the look of it. There's a very beautiful park right 5 minutes away from us. There's so much going on in this area. And also the metro is very close by. That was one of the biggest considerations. Yeah, so doing that with the metro was a big thing for us.
Yeah, we don't have a car, and we didn't intend to buy a car here. So we wanted to be close to a subway station. And the public transportation in Lisbon is very good. And they also have the shared bikes. You pay 25 euros per year, and you can use the bikes. They are everywhere in the city. So it's really, you don't need a car to live in the city.
The bike system I'll tell you, the bike system is not only unbelievable, it's like they've made it so accessible. And the other thing that we were reading the other day about the bike system is they're going to have even more bike routes or what do they call it? Bike tracks or whatever, right?
Yeah, the bike lanes.
The bike lanes going all over town. It's amazing. It's amazing to do that on a Saturday, Sunday, or during the week. It's specifically set up for transportation as an alternative.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So your first month or so was very exploratory and adventurous then?
Oh yeah,
yes.
we were like lost dogs. We were like going from one neighborhood to the next neighborhood and just venturing out. I think this is the best way to figure out what you want to do in Lisbon is just come out the subway station wherever you are and leave the map aside and just start walking in one or two different directions. And obviously, if you see shady characters, just come back and go the other way. But there's so much to do in Lisbon and explore.
Yeah, we had an Airbnb booked for 1.5 months, and that was enough for us to have a pretty good idea of the city and to find an apartment to rent.
It's good. That's a good strategy. So you made your base camp basically. Did you say a month and a half or a month?
1.5.
1.5 months.
Okay. Yeah. No, recommending to other people then, would you consider that a reasonable time to find somewhere and sign a deal?
Yeah, well, it was enough time for us. I think that 1.5 months is, and also keep in mind that usually the rents start on the first day of the month. So, yeah.
All right.
We looked at a lot of different situations where, because we had arrived mid-month in January, we looked for a lot of places where maybe we can bring our stuff in mid-February and buy furniture or whatever we need to. So it will take us 15 days to settle in, but we couldn't. Everything starts on the 1st, as Rachel said.
Very interesting. Okay. Susan, going back to Torres Vedras, Frank and Rachel, you have to visit Torres Vedras, only half an hour's drive from Lisbon. You won't be disappointed, she says. So another thing to add to this. Sandra, in your opinions, where do expats live if they want to be close to Lisbon, but want to live in a smaller community? Any ideas there?
One of the areas would be, because Alvalade is an area where there is this area, I guess I would recommend, because it's not necessarily in the center of town. I don't think it's necessarily considered a suburb. It's near the airport. And this is one of the areas that we really love because there's this, obviously there's farmers markets everywhere, but it's everything that you can think of as far as hospitals, schools, parks, grocery stores, and grocery stores, not just 3 different kinds of grocery stores, fresh fruits, markets. There's like so much going on. Garrafeiras, if you're like into your wines, the one that is right in Alvalade. There's quite a bit to do in this area. This area we really became very fond of.
Yeah.
It's not a very expensive area, so it's not like there is this Saldanha or something like that. It is a very reasonable prices everywhere over here.
Yes, but if you want, but this is still inside Lisbon. If you want a smaller town outside of Lisbon, there are lots of nice places south of the river, and there are trains that go there, so the connection to Lisbon is very good. I think that the smaller towns north of Lisbon don't have good train connection, but there is bus. And the bus routes are nice.
We've heard good things about Sintra. That's somewhere a lot of people like going as well. We visited there, but we were not. We went and saw Setúbal as well, and we were not a very big fan of Setúbal. There was not much to do. If you're a couple that wants to, or if you're a family, you don't have little kids and you want to do things outside, you want to have social activities and whatever, it's a very quiet town. However, I think that accommodation and transportation would be much cheaper over there, right? That's the
yes, definitely. Yeah. But also keep in mind, we say, we didn't like Setúbal, but from our perspective, because we are a big city people. Now, when many people prefer a smaller town, they might like Setúbal. So it's definitely worth checking.
Yeah. Okay. So really a matter of personal taste rather than it's not a very nice place. Because a lot of people absolutely love Setúbal, don't they? And it's of course the birthplace of Jose Mourinho, of course.
Yes.
I believe.
Yes, we found the most interesting. Well, I found the most interesting about Setúbal, and I don't want people to hate me for it. Was the street that is called what is it called, Estrada José Mourinho, or Avenida José Mourinho? That's where everything is happening. Other than that, this town is like completely dead.
Interesting. Okay, and Cascais, I think you can add to that list of places that are near Lisbon.
Cascais for beach as well, for amazing beach community. It's and also when you go to the center of Cascais, there's like lots of social activity over there. So Cascais actually would be nice. The thing about Cascais is it's kind of on the pricey side.
Yes. There's a big and long-standing expat community there. I think there's a UN base there, or organization. So I think the prices have gone up progressively over the years. So it's quite a sort of high-end expat experience there. But worth checking out all of these places. Sandra, I hope that was useful to you. Steve, good evening to you, Steve. Good night, everyone. When you selected an apartment, did you go with a newer building or an older one?
We live in an older building, and I'll tell you, it does not have any insulation. I guess that's why he's asking. It doesn't have any insulation, doesn't have any heating source. It's quite cold.
but it's pretty much I'll say this, it's pretty much a Portugal-wide phenomenon, because when we coming from Canada, it's a cold country, so you like if you've got winter, like proper winter for 4 or 5 months, the insulation in houses is such it could be minus 45 outside. You could be in a very comfortable place. I'm sure it's the same thing in the UK, same thing in the United States. Over here, I just don't think anyone has been able to convince our Portuguese friends that it really gets cold over here. It's I wish that would happen. It's these kind of older buildings made in I think this building would be something from the 50s or 60s or whatever.
Yeah, maybe something like that.
Solid buildings, very nice building. Apartments are quite nice. But this is one thing that we kind of forgot to consider. So it's a very good question, Steve. It might be something to look at, just to make sure, like if you're going with your real estate agent or if you're doing it yourself, just to make sure that there is some source of heating inside the house, because trust me, you will need it.
Over here, it's the opposite of we experienced in Canada. In the mornings, we open the windows because it's much warmer outside than inside. We need to let the warmth in.
Oh, yeah, it's the other way around. It's funny enough. Yeah, that's true.
What you can't see, Steve, is they've got blankets over their knees and 5 pairs of socks on below the waistline there. It is definitely a thing. And people can be, I think, forgiven for overlooking this, because in your mind, you're thinking, I'm in Lisbon, 300 days of sunshine a year, blue skies, the al fresco life. I'm not going to be in my apartment much. I'm going to be at restaurants, cafes. I'm going to be at the theatre, or, strolling about downtown, and my place is just going to be a dormitory. But people have felt it this year, haven't they? Having to spend more time in lockdown and at home. These houses are not hot, and electricity is expensive here. So we're not gonna hide that from you. That is a reality made all the more poignant by lockdown this year.
Yes, it's something where we kind of underestimated how, like, it kind of feels a little bit damp somehow. So the thing is, we kind of underestimated that. So absolutely, if you lived in a building that's like done, I believe even after the 80s, a building is done, I'm quite sure that it'll have very good heating. It's just that we skipped that, and that's our experience, and I guess you could benefit from it.
Yes, that's just one part of the benefit that you're going to get from their experience. These guys are bookable, and you can do that. Let me just put the link in. If you go to the expatsportugal.com, our site, and then look at the Ask Our Expat area, you can use that link there that's in the comments at the moment. And I'll also put that in the YouTube replay as well, where it will be available, obviously, forever. So I hope that helps, Steve, with your inquiry there. In many ways, I mean, a lot of people, wherever they've come from, do seem to have the memory of being at grandma's house in their childhood, where they, instead of a duvet, they had blankets, loads of blankets. The air was cold in the room. There might have been some condensation, maybe even ice on the inside of the glass. It's that kind of vibe, only for 2 or 3 months of the year. Yeah. But remember what it was like to stay at grandma's house, and that'll give you a pretty good approximation of what you might be up against in some of the older properties in Portugal. Is that fair?
Yes, exactly. The amount of condensation inside the window every morning is another reason why we have to open everything to air the place.
Yeah, it's a part of it. I think since this is our first, we arrived in January, right? So this is our first full experience of the winter. Once we've experienced a few times, a few times, I'm quite sure we'll laugh about this. But the thing is, right now, on some days, we're not laughing.
Yes, of course. It will be a dim and distant memory. Yes, of course, that we'll all laugh about together when we're drinking a glass of wine in Coimbra, because that's the plot twist. I mean, so if we conclude this first half hour with your experience of Lisboa, I'm guessing you've had a great time there. Before we go on to your personal plot twist, you'd recommend it, right, to people, to North Americans, to experience life in Lisbon for at least 1 year of your life?
Yes, definitely. Geographically, it's quite like pretty much in this middle, between north and south. So it's very, Lisboa itself has very good public transportation. And from here to take the train and go anywhere else in the country is easy. And I definitely recommend
and to add to public transportation, add Ubers and Bolt and all these different taxi services. They are incredibly cheap over here. We find at times, especially during these pandemic times, going to the mall, if we don't feel like taking the metro, what we are basically doing is we're just taking the Uber or Bolt, and it's the same price.
Yeah, same price as 2 fares to take the subway.
That's how cold it is in the flat.
Pardon?
That's how cold it is in the flat. Frank's sneezing.
Oh yes. Even though we've got like a very interesting kind of heater that I mentioned the other day, we've got in the room. It's functioning. That's another very interesting thing that you will not find very likely in the UK, Canada, or the US. is the kind of like little heating radiators that they have over here, and they've got all different kinds of them. And we happened to purchase this one. I thought it was quite heavy when we brought it over here, and then I realized why it's heavy. It's because it's probably a weapon.
Well, ex-Russian army stock or something like that.
Exactly.
Fantastic. And probably the sort of heaters that some people might remember from their college days, where you can actually make toast by holding bread up in front of them,
or dry your clothes.
or dry your clothes. There you go. Not that we recommend that, but everyone does it, don't they? You definitely got an obrigada from Sandra, and Laura is in the same condition here of gratitude. A la boa noite from Lauren. Hello to you. Obrigada for all the info. Much needed. Okay, so let's go back to that one of the early questions from Ginny, because you would have gone through a process to be here, the D7 that you mentioned, and definitely that's useful information for people, and this will be part of it. Hi, Frank and Rachel. I'm a UK citizen. I'm looking for help with getting my NIF this Wednesday. That's the number around which all Portuguese fiscal life revolves. For a face-to-face appointment, can you recommend someone who is trustworthy? I think we've all got something to chip in on that. But can you put the NIF into context of your whole D7 process, please?
So we hired a law firm here in Lisbon to help with the application, and they applied for a NIF for us. No? I think.
As a matter of fact, we were not here.
Yes.
They applied for us while we were in Canada.
Yeah.
As preparation.
Yes. So I think that the lawyers were like some type of guarantors to the government, and in our behalf they applied. And I know that there are professionals who do this type of service. I don't know anyone.
But full disclosure, based on there were a few elements in Rachel and our experience that we were not fully satisfied with the folks that we had hired. That's why we would not necessarily recommend them.
Oh, okay. So again, not to be slanderous, especially with a legal firm or anything of that kind. I mean, you obviously got your personal differences, and they're not here to defend themselves necessarily. But people can find out from you one-to-one if they need to, and they can book where you spill your beans there. And of course, go to our business directory where you can get help. In a similar way, by the sound of it, we work, Expats Portugal work very closely with a company called EI Migration Services, who it sounds like a very similar situation where you give power of attorney to a legal firm in this country, in Portugal, and they will take care of these things for you. Ginny, in answer to your question as a Brit, the most straightforward thing is probably to just go to the finances office. If you're here yourself on Wednesday in Portugal, go to your nearest finances office with your passport, and your address doesn't even need, as far as I recall, and it worked for me, your address doesn't need to be in Portugal. The reason you get a NIF number is to make a record of your spending for taxation purposes. So the Portuguese government understandably make that very easy for you, and you'll have to pay, I think, €15 or something like that, I think, for the privilege of registering yourself into the financial system. But you can do that yourself at a finances office, which is you'll see that these offices all around the country. Most big towns have a finances office, and it's a white writing on a blue background. Finances. Go in, take your ticket, wait your turn, show who you are, prove who you are, and you will be given a NIF number. That's a fairly straightforward part of the process. How did that fit in for you guys as part of your D7 then? So you needed the NIF, you presumably needed fingerprints, FBI check, and all, not for you, not FBI, but that's more for Americans, isn't it? What do Canada, what does the Canadian-Portuguese relationship require of you?
What's required is you obviously need a police check. So you need to go wherever, whichever area you are in, whichever city. For us, it was obviously Toronto police and the area we were living in. We just went over there, provided, I guess, our local information, and they asked us to come back and get our police check next week, which we sent to our lawyers, and we take it to the Portuguese consulate in Toronto as well?
Yes.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we did. So the lawyers only helped us put together the application, but we took everything ourselves the day we went for the meeting at the consulate. So in advance, they helped us with the NIF. And so we came here to Portugal before starting the application, opened the bank account, and we met the lawyers in person. And then we went back, finished our application, which was pretty much this, the police report, the NIF, and just pretty much that, right? And a letter is explaining why we wanted to move to Portugal, and the financial statements. And then we went to the consulate. And
pretty much the idea is what we got out of it. And this is a few of our friends had mentioned that, hey, you know what, I can go through the process myself as well. Why do I need a lawyer, or why do I? It's personal choice. What we figured that this is a process we don't know about, a country in Europe. We might as well hire someone who could give us solid advice and kind of guide us through the process. We've realized since the time we've come over here, there were quite a few things that could simply be done. So I think the advice you just gave to Ginny is very valuable, because the thing is, it's not as daunting as it sounds. You can just there are a lot of things that you can take care of, like getting the NIF. Basically, is, as you said, they're just getting you. That's the first thing. They'll get you into the tax system, so there's a way for you to be tracked. And it's nice. It's obviously if you're working somewhere, you're going to pay taxes. If you're generating revenue, then you're going to pay taxes. That's expected. But that's the first thing that gets done.
Yep. Okay. We've got an update on that. And I was going back to the glory days pre-pandemic, and we have an update. I have an appointment on Wednesday, but I'm not in Lisbon till Monday, which is inconvenient. Ginny, Roger has come to your aid here. Thank you, Roger Forsberg. You need to book your time to get the fiscal number now during the pandemic. It is free, and he did it a month ago. So I just...
Good job, Roger.
Yeah, making a bit of a call on your situation there. You might want to use our partners, EI. You can find them on this link here. And if you can get a power of attorney sorted out with them tomorrow, Tuesday, they may well be able to act on your behalf by Wednesday. Tell them we sent you. Mention Expats Portugal. We have a lovely relationship with them. I don't know if they can pull all the stops out and turn it around in 48 hours, but it's got to be worth a try, isn't it? So you don't waste your appointment. I do wish you boa sorte, as we say in Portugal. Good luck with that. But, you know, if that one doesn't work out, I imagine you can book another maybe for the Monday after, or get these guys, get EI to do it for you. Good luck, Ginny, with that. So yes, it does sound a bit like it might be a bit easier for Canadians than Americans. Is that true?
I suspect when we were doing this last year, what our lawyer said, that this will not be a very complicated process for you. You'll get in. I'm quite sure our American friends would probably be able to get in. There wouldn't be the main especially with the D7 visa. It's the amount that you have in your bank accounts or whatever investments you have that are very, very important, because they look at it and they say, all right, will you be able to sustain yourself while living in Portugal through your investments or whatever you're doing? I think that's the most important thing. One thing, if I may add, Carl, as far as folks going to the lawyers is concerned, this is something we did, and this is something in I guess North America or even in the UK, people don't want to ask too many questions. What I would suggest is actually go in with a list of all the questions, silly or not so silly or whatever you want to ask. Make sure you take all that to the lawyers, because it's so important to have all that information handy, because the lawyers might not really understand or might not really know what your specific requirements are or what you're looking for or what kind of information you can present. Sometimes it's up to you as well to really take charge of your situation, be able to present the information to the lawyers.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so let's go to this plot twist now. You thought it might be Lisbon for your life in Portugal, but I understand you have your eye on Coimbra now. Why is that?
Yeah, so this is another thing that we changed our minds about after we moved here, because before we said, okay, we need to live in a city with an international airport. That was like number one priority. So we had three options then. It was Faro, Lisboa, or Porto. And because of weather, we had said no to Porto. Then we said, okay, so Lisboa it is. But when we said that, it was with the North American mentality, like that the distances are so huge in Canada. So now we realize that it's not that important because, for example, if we are going to Coimbra, we are going to be about 45 minutes away from the Porto airport, 1.5 hours away from Lisboa. And living in Toronto, depending on the traffic, we are about 1 hour away from the airport from downtown. So it's not that
it takes a while to get used to the scale, because if you're thinking North American scale, or even if you live in London, it might take you, if you're driving to the airport, it might take you sometimes an hour to get to Heathrow, or to get to Gatwick, or to get to Luton. Yeah. So I guess that's the kind of thing that you have to think about. We also realized the reason why we wanted, why we like Coimbra is, even though Lisbon is kind of in the center, Coimbra is even more in the center. Mm-hmm. And there is, from let's say a town like Coimbra, you can, if you wanted to take one of these airports, there is like these buses that come and pick you up, and they take you directly to these airports. Mm-hmm. So either Lisbon Airport or Porto Airport and whatever. Mm-hmm. So the things that we were turning into a huge deal in our heads turned out to not be such a huge deal. Yeah. And we really fell in love with Coimbra, the mishmash of the old with the new. It's got an amazing Harry Potter kind of old university. And it's just got so much character. When you are in like the old Coimbra area, it's a university town, so there's like a lot of action. There's a lot of activities happening over there. So we really, when we went over there, we really got to like the town, and we're thinking of making the move over there towards the beginning of next year.
I thoroughly approve. Not least because you'll be nearer to me, but a very selfish consideration. Adil is asking, how do you compare, or how does Toronto compare to Lisbon? And maybe you want to extend that to Coimbra as well, from your knowledge of these places.
No comparison.
There is no comparison. It really depends what the question is. Like, what are we comparing? Are we comparing nightlife? Are we comparing activities? Are we comparing different festivals? Are we comparing... Toronto has an amazing jazz festival. In Lisbon, almost the same kind of deal. Toronto has...
I think that Toronto is the biggest city in Canada, and Lisbon is the biggest city in Portugal, but still on a much smaller scale than Toronto. Lisbon is much more compact, so the city is more dense. More people live in a smaller area. Toronto is much more spread out. Mm-hmm. As far as festivals are concerned, unfortunately, because of the pandemic, we can't say we could really enjoy everything Lisbon has to offer this year. So that was unfortunate.
First time in our lives, we've witnessed a lot of festivals on TV.
Yes, from all over the world. Amazing. Oh, okay. Thanks for that with the comparison there. Susan, just going back to houses and the cold. Susan says we bought our first house in 2005. We couldn't believe how cold it was in winter, albeit for a few months, thank goodness. Bought a new apartment 4 years ago, which was constructed under new building regulations with proper insulation, full central heating, warm, toasty, and affordable. So there you go. An end is in sight to the cold and the damp, and it is possible to renovate or find properties that will keep you warm in the winter. Just something to watch out for, really. And it's an easy decision to make, isn't it? In the summertime, you know, for me, my mind is not on the winter when I'm just in my shorts and flip flops. In the summer, you just don't think about these things, do you?
Yeah, no. And the good thing is that winter here is short. So
Yes.
that is really nice.
Mercifully short. How long is winter in Canada?
Oh, wow, Canada is so large. It depends where in Canada. So we lived in Calgary for 4 years, and winter there was not only too cold, it was endless. Like winter in Calgary is very long. In Toronto has more of 4 seasons. So it's cold, maybe really cold for 3 to 4 months. The rest of the year is nice, but Calgary, oh my God.
Never again. Okay. And I mean, do you miss anything about Canada?
Yes, we have family there, so I miss people, but that's about it. We definitely don't miss the rat race, or I like the more easier pace of life here.
Oh, good for you. What do you miss, Frank, about Canada, if anything?
If anything, obviously family members, friends. Other than that, that's another thing that we talked about on our way on when we were on the plane over here. We were like, should we, like, now that we are moving to another country, do you think it'll be easier to close the chapter on something and like move on to like a different life? And I think that has been easier, because obviously you will always miss your family members. You will always miss the people that you've worked with and friends and whatever. But when you come over here, one of the things that really it becomes helpful is to really go and, as they say, own it. Go in and make it your own place. If you one thing that we realized is, coming over here, if you act like a stranger, then you'll be treated like a stranger. If you behave like you belong, and you are going to be a person who is committed to living over here, who will enjoy the lifestyle, then you will bear the fruits of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think you have owned it. I mean, I've seen you in action in Coimbra, and your new prospective home, and I see you on the forums and social media groups. It sounds like you don't even live there yet, but you sound like you're owning it. With you got to go to this bar, that part of town, and it sounds like you guys have got a fantastic grasp of it already, and you're obviously really looking forward to moving there.
Oh yeah, we did. The few times that we've been to Coimbra, Rachel and I walked around. This is what we do. We like walk around a lot to understand the scale of the town, which area we would enjoy, which area we would not enjoy, and especially going to these very local areas. I think that is the essence of Portugal. Sometimes you go. I remember that little bar that I sent you a picture from. It's not even a bar; it's a small boteco of this very elderly gentleman, and you go in, and like a glass of wine is 40 cents, and it's a very broken down place. The street is not very well lit. There are a few people sitting on a bench outside, but when you go over there, he's for just for food. The only thing he sells is boiled eggs.
Well, that's working in England at the moment. That's called a substantial meal in the UK.
He just sells boiled eggs, and you can get like your wine, or you can get your whatever. It's very cheap, and you find these kinds of places. The gentleman is very nice, and then he, obviously, funny enough, in a very cute way, he has the expectation for you to bring your own glasses back and make sure everything is nice. Put the chairs back where you took it from. It's amazing. It's
quite right too. I mean, for 40 cents a glass, you've got to be doing your own kind of service, really, there, haven't you?
Exactly.
And I'm thinking that's going to be a horrible hangover, a boiled egg and wine hangover. But you're not thinking about that. It's a bit like the cold in Portugal. You're not thinking about that bit, are you? Whilst you're enjoying the nightlife.
You're not. That's one thing that's absolutely been the biggest plus over here is the wine. Wine is just unbelievable, and we still haven't even scratched the surface.
Fabulous. Adil's got another question for you. How about the language hurdles you're facing here? It's very hard for me. Where are you based, Adil? But although I have a restaurant here, I'm learning it. Like talking with. Are you already in Portugal? Perhaps, I don't know. Let us know, Adil. It's going to be a bit easier for you, Rachel, isn't it? From Brazil. Tell us your respective experiences. How's it been for you, like integrating into European Portuguese? And Frank, how are you doing with the whole new prospect of European Portuguese? Rachel first.
I'm a tag along. So
yeah.
Yeah. So I am originally from Brazil. So Portuguese is my mother tongue. But there are differences between the Brazilian Portuguese and the European Portuguese.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like the difference between the British English and the American English. The most of the words are the same, but the spelling sometimes changes, and a few words are different. And it's the way the sentence is built is a little bit different here. And so for me, I understand. Sometimes I need to say, excuse me, because I think I am thinking I guess in English or in Brazilian Portuguese, and they speak sometimes fast. I need to say, excuse me. But I am like 99% good, and we've been married for 16 years, and frankly languages come very easy for him. So just by listening to me talk to my family members, he picked up a lot of Portuguese. But the Brazil,
a lot of things I was not supposed to know.
And he speaks Portuguese with my accent from my region in Brazil, because even in Brazil we have many accents. And so he speaks with my accent.
It's easier. It's easier. Well, to Adil's question, it's easier for us, I guess, because through her, I am familiar with the language. So it was easier when we came over here for us to be able to communicate. In the beginning, the first few months was a little bit difficult. But now, and that's what I was saying, as you commit to it, because when you go to the grocery store, if I sometimes intentionally, I'll tell Rachel, you hang back over here, I'll go and get the groceries. She'll be like, are you sure today's groceries are kind of tough? You've got to go and show this card, and you've got to get this promotion, whatever. I'm just like, you know what? I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, it's once you're thrown in the situation, you figure it out over here. They know. People are very nice. Even if they don't speak the language, either they'll slow down or they'll kind of help you out. They won't just leave you hanging.
Tremendous. Adil is in Lisbon, actually, and he's doing a quick advert for his Barbecue Tonight restaurant, which you've got to go to now, guys. I'm sure Adil will look after you there, having done a little advert for his show on your talk tonight before you leave for Coimbra. So on the language issue and about you helping other people, obviously you can speak Portuguese, you can speak English, you can speak Canadian as well, incredibly. And then I see
speak Jim Carrey language.
Jim Carrey. Can you do the faces as well, I wonder? But let's not try that right now. But what else? I noticed from your profile on Ask Our Expats, right? You speak Urdu as well.
Yes, I speak Urdu. Well, because my dad is from Pakistan, my mother's from Iran, so I speak Farsi. And obviously, as you said, attempt at English, so the Canadian English. And then there is the Portuguese, which is coming along fine. I expect within the next, I expect by next year, you and I both to be able to speak to each other in Portuguese.
Look forward to
that. You're quite free flowing. I see your accent is really getting in nice these days.
Muito obrigado. Yes, and I hope to be out in Coimbra causing trouble with you and learning the language through immersing ourselves in deep and enriching experiences. Adil says, well, here in Lisbon, it's quite easy. You can find people talking English. That's the problem, isn't it? When people do know you speak English, it tends to be the default. But Coimbra, I think, will be a little bit different for these guys. Superb. I think maybe just finally, I mean, it's fair to say that you guys would recommend coming to Portugal. No problem there. This would have been a dismal hour if you weren't recommending coming here. There's the obvious and difficult thing of, the thing you missed was people. And I don't know what expats can do about that, except fly their people over, right? When the time comes, when you're allowed to do that. Get them moved over here. That's the thing to do, I think, isn't it? To enjoy this quality of life.
The good thing is TAP has a lot of flights from Toronto, from the big cities in North America. I've noticed that they have a lot of flights coming in from New York, from the West Coast, from down south in Florida. There are a lot of flights coming in. So Portugal has become a very busy destination. There are many cheap flights coming over here, depending on the time of the year you can fly in, people. It's not a big deal.
Amazing. So just final word from both of you then, for those teetering on the brink of this dream of coming to Portugal, whether they be from North America, South America, what would your advice be? Rachel, you first.
Don't think twice, just do it. You're not going to regret.
Yeah, dive in. Don't keep that toe hanging in. Just dive in. The water is warm. Don't worry.
Simple as that. Fantastic.
Amazing.
All right. Well, let me finally, and thank you both so much for being here, having a chat with me.
Thank you very much for having us.
Really appreciate it. This is the service where you'll find these guys. This is our team, people in various parts of Portugal with various years of experience. Look, Humberto there, I think going back, he said 1985. Good heavens. And he's still here, so that's a good sign. Frank, as you can see there, Bruce over in Castelo Branco. Loads of people joining our team to help you. You can book them one-to-one. They can go on recce's for you. They can do some research for you about housing, all sorts of stuff. And they are bookable on our site, expats.portugal.com. And just drop down the tab, Ask Our Expats, and book these wonderful people there, including Frank and Rachel, who it's been my pleasure to speak to tonight. Take care, guys. And I look forward to seeing you when you move to Coimbra. And of course, on the Wine Club. Catch these guys as well, Wine Ninjas on the Good Morning Portugal Wine Club, who will be toasting people, I believe, on New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve. It so falls that our Thursday nights at the Wine Club are Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. So I think we might be popping in and maybe raising a glass of our favourite Portuguese vinho that we've discovered this year. Who knows? We'll find out on the 24th and the 31st of December. Take care, everybody. I think it's fair to wish people a Feliz Natal, isn't it now?
Feliz Natal. Merry Christmas.
And to you too, Buon Anno Novo as well, in your new home. Okay, ciao, ciao.
Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado. So there you go, folks.